I'm going to take you through an inner critic exorcism. And so to get the most value from this experience, think of something that would bring up your inner critic, that would make you feel guilty. And if you are having trouble finding something, raise your hand and one of the practitioners will come and give you something to feel guilty about. All right, let's go on a journey together. There's a teacher inside you who teaches you lessons. His favorite word should is a sign of his presence. He shoulds on you till you're so deep in depression, you do things that make your priest gasp at confession. The teacher is guilt and he's doing his best to whip you in shape so you'll be a success. When he fears you've screwed up, he whips your behind, the way jockeys whip horses to quicken their time. He's the guilt that stole Christmas, your personal Grinch, and he'll take a whole mile if you give him an inch. He lives in your basement, that's where he resides. Alone in the darkness, he schemes and he hides. So let's grab a light and head down to the cellar to expose and illumine this cagey cave dweller. Because most of us do not become motivated. When guilt's on our case, we just want it sedated. So we smoke or we drink to drown out the noise. Or become busy worker bees, good girls or boys. Straight A's, nothing less in our quest for perfection, in the hopes our achievements can win God's affection. But God always gives you a standing ovation, adoring you with the most pure adoration. It's guilt that imagines that God could be pissed, which makes you walk on eggshells, afraid of his fist, or possibly drives you to be atheist. Or at least a type A perfectionist. Remember in school when you got your first B and you thought that you failed somewhat miserably? It's guilt that thinks misery leads to prevention and for your own good sends you down to detention. And in that detention, guilt hopes that you'll suffer enough that you'll be that much wiser and tougher. It thinks it's serving a valuable service by rushing to judgment and making you nervous. But guilt's not like conscience, regret, or remorse. Those teachers teach gently, while guilt uses force. What's wrong with you, madam? And of course, shame on you, sir. Guilt thinks he's your teacher, but he's just your abuser. Now, guilt can arise from so many sources. Let's name just a few as a matter of courses. There's guilt from religion, original sin, humanity's birth defect, pass me some gin. There's sexual guilt when you've just done the naughty, and sometimes there's guilt when you've just had the thoughty. There's guilt when you did something bad and got caughty, or when you didn't do something you oughty. There's parental guilt installed by your folks who hope to protect you and teach you the ropes. There's guilt when you've gained weight and gotten too curvy. There's no end to the reasons you could feel unworthy. Now, if you are Catholic, guilt can be addressed. In a booth once a week, hail a cab and confess. And if you're not Catholic, you still can unload, so you pay for a shrink so your head won't explode. Because when you keep guilt in a dark, secret place, it inflates until it blows up in your face. And that's why we nickname our therapists Shrink. They help us deflate all the hot air we think. And if you can't pay for a counselor to hear you, just ask a good friend to listen and cheer you. Then they'll take a turn and sing like a canary, and you'll welcome their truth like you are their truth fairy. And guilt takes a hike without a single Hail Mary. Now, when you got guilt, you're on your own case, and your head's like a courtroom, a humorless place. The district attorney presents your trespasses as if he was wearing a dark pair of glasses, glasses that block out your goodness and light. He's your prosecution, and he might win the fight. Not so fast, says your diligent defense attorney, as he outlines the good things you've done on your journey. Objection, objection, the DA protests and presents more proof that in truth, you're a mess. And on these attorneys, they fight all night and all day and all night, both trying to be heard and trying to be right. And when they cross-examine, battle, and spar, they both have no clue of the true you are. Because the you down in Trueville is never on trial. Underneath your adult, there's an innocent child whose report card in truth has no guilt to report. Your case has been settled and laughed out of court. There's no judge or jury, and it's starting to dawn. Being stuck in your head is not where you belong. So you start tuning out all the static and noise and start tuning in to what brings you more joy. You take off that tight, formal courtroom attire and slip into whatever your heart does desire. Your heart, not your head, is now leading the way, which leads you back to church from your childhood days. The priest in the booth says, "My child, where have you been? It's been years and I'm ready to hear some new sins." But nothing prepares him for what he hears next. It's more blasphemous than the scandalous sex. "Father, forgive me, for I've been pretending that something was wrong with me that needed mending. I thought there were hoops that I must jump through first before being happy and knowing my worth. But now I'm finding my treasures on earth are here in my body, my temple, my church. Oh, the moments I missed and the joys I denied me to atone for some guilt that I thought had to guide me. But I'm off of the cross now and finally can say, I confess that I'm innocent. Goodbye and good day." Thank you. Uno momento. And the priest, he's astounded, he's shocked and tongue-tied as you exit that booth before he can reply. There's a bounce in your step as you let out a whee, because the space in your head is at last lawyer-free. You know you're still human and will make mistakes, but oh, what a joy to be off your own case. And simply because you are taking up space, you know that you're worthy of love and of grace. Simply because I am taking up space, I know that I'm worthy of love and of grace.